So let me try my best to explain what's happening with this bonkers patch. I have a bit of a thing for these red modules, which are made by Djupviks Electronic. Look him up on Instagram. You can see loads of my vids feature Shakti, which is probably one of my favourite of his modules, and the Q, which is a phaser as well. And I've got a couple of new ones, which is fun. Recently, there's a chap called Peter Oldroyd who builds them in the UK, so you can contact him direct and get him to build the kits for you from Thonk if, like me, you're not really very good with a soldering iron, or like me, have never tried. And they just make some really good noise. They're really, really interesting modules. And this patch featured, I kind of, and this is a bit of vanity, I wanted a whole skiff of them just because they look nice together. And this was my first time playing with it. And at first I was just mucking around with the Nymphes polysynth from Djupviks, just playing it into the Beneath the Bush of Ghosts, which is a sampler, and mucking around with it with the various filters, bandpass filters, and funky reverb, which is the Bunker Archaeology. Excuse me, but the more I played with them, the more I realised I needed some loud oscillation and some trigger sequencing as well. And so another European maker that I absolutely love, Atov Project, I bought my Atov Skiff as well, which clearly Atov Project need to just release just a couple more modules so I can fill this one up. But what that gave me was the Dual Harmonic Oscillator to do some audio rate modulation, and the little MMX to do some mixing as well. So what I've got here is, in fact, let me just play you firstly the raw sound of what's coming out of the Nymphes, so you've got an idea. It's just I just plugged in a simple synth line. I think it's sequenced by key step, and so that's what's going into. That was what was going into Beneath the Bush of Ghosts, and also, going into Clot. But let's go one thing at a time. So Nymphes was going into Beneath the Bush of Ghosts, which is a sampler based on its old telephone recording tech chips. Let's just turn that one up. Oh, you can hear those crackles. So that's basically 4 different mini recordings of that, and you can hear there's a little bit of space in there too. That's because the LX-Euclid from Atov is momentarily firing off each of the 4 samples on the Beneath the Bush Ghost module. You see I've set LX-Euclid to play like 1 in 17, 1 in 13, 1 in 14, basically at a really slow rate as well. So every so often you will get silence, and every so often you'll get something playing. There you go. You can hear those pops as well. Now that's playing through this Bunker Archaeology, module, which I got new this week, which, I'll be honest, I haven't read a manual. I'm not even sure there is a manual, but if you turn this knob up, you get this really nice stuttering reverb effect. It's lovely. So that's channel 1 on the MMX. Worth noting as well that coming out of here there is Soma Cosmos adding just a little bit of granular delay, and then the Walrus slower pedal adding a bit of dreamy reverb, and then just auto boom, and that's it. That's everything. Next one we'll go for, let's get the Nymphes output and plug it back into Clot. So I've got Nymphes going into Clot. Excuse me, that was me knocking my empty mug of tea over. And let's hear how that sounds. Fun stuff. Really fun stuff. Now, Clot is a kind of chaotic filter. Again, first time I've used it, first time I plugged it in, so your mileage may vary. I'm having a lot of fun with it so far. Into this input, I've put some audio rate from the Dual Harmonic Oscillator, and if you just hear what happens and see what happens as well when I change the octave, let me just check it's set to octave, it is, on the DHO. So there I get some audio rate modulation of the filter. And slow it down. These three switches seem to have something to do with the sequencing of the filters. I'll find out more and let you know. So yeah, that's then going from, so that's the polysynth line going from Clot into the Q, and then just direct into the MMX for mixing. And then the third one, this is quite fun. Have I got it plugged in? Nope, I haven't. 1 second. It's probably a good reason for that. Here you go. So this is a kind of noisy drone, which is achieved by taking some other outputs from the Dual Harmonic Oscillator and putting them into a module called Box of Angels, which I think has several bandpass filters and a noise gen as well. The oscillators are actually, they're not going into the input, they're actually going into the to the CV inputs, and so they're actually driving that audio rate modulation. Some nice droney sounds there. So if I turn everything up, you get the full patch. These modules are really fun. I suggest you follow Djupviks on Instagram and check them out. Right, let's have a jam.